What's going on, everybody? DiGi Valentine here right about now. Virtua Fighter is back. That's a mad one. Say that again. Virtua Fighter is back. That doesn't sound right, but apparently it is for the time being, at least. So I'm going to talk about this because anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of the old Sega IPs. I love that old school shit. So going to talk about this one. For those that don't know, the last Virtua Fighter game to come out was Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown about 15 years ago, and the series has been dormant ever since. But we're sort of seeing a weird moment in Sega's storyline right now, aren't we? Because they're kind of open to the idea of revisiting old IPs in some fashions. I mean, we've got a Panzer Dragoon remake, we're getting a House of the Dead remake, we've got Sonic Mania, Streets of Rage 4 is a thing. Streets of Rage 4 is a thing, and it's good. That series died in the mid-90s, and now we've got a new game that came out a couple of years ago. So Sega are really open to the idea of looking at the old IPs at the moment, and they're doing that with Virtua Fighter right now. The last game, as I said, came out about 15 years ago, Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, and it was dormant after that. We ain't seen this series for a long time, but fighting games have come up heavily in the last 10 years alone. Fighting games are huge right now, probably bigger than they've ever been. So Sega are looking at Virtua Fighter and they're like, well, what can we do with this? Now, I know Sega, they don't always have the budget to put in. Okay, when it comes down to finances, they don't always put in right away from the get-go. They're a little bit hesitant. Maybe because they got burned in the past with a lot of different ideas. So when it comes down to bringing back something for their own sake, you know, nobody wants Sega to go bankrupt, so they can't really be affording to make bad choices. So they're looking at Virtua Fighter. It's been dormant for 15 years. What do? They take Virtua Fighter 5 and they give it a fresh new coat of paint using the Yakuza engine. Basically the dev team that makes the Yakuza games. I've forgotten the name of the studio now, but the same engine they're using for those games, they've now slapped it onto Virtua Fighter 5. And the thing about Virtua Fighter 5 is, even though it's a 15-year-old game, it still plays solidly. It's got some of the best fighting game animations you've ever seen. Virtua Fighter 5 had some of the best animation and it still holds up today, so they didn't really need to go in and change the mechanics or anything. They just put the engine onto the game and they just spiced it up, and it looks beautiful right now. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown is what they're calling it. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. It looks gorgeous. So you've got a game that is 15 years old, but it still holds up amazingly well, still plays beautifully well. So you don't even need to worry how it plays. It plays solidly. Don't worry about that fact. And you can play it on a PlayStation 4. At the moment, it seems like it's a Sony exclusive for the time being. If you've got a PS4, you can actually play this game for free for the next couple of months. If you've got a PlayStation Plus subscription, Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown is in the store for free. You can just go and get it. For the next couple of months, it's there. Go and play it. But yeah, so why are they choosing to do this? As I said, they're looking at dormant IPs. People are wondering if it means, are they gauging interest? I think when it comes to Virtua Fighter, to make a brand new game from scratch will cost a lot. And you've got to think about how fighting games usually operate in today's current market. They're not just you release one game and then that's it. You release one game and then you've got to commit budget and resources to that game for 5 years minimum, because you're doing seasons, you're bringing out new characters as time goes on, you've got to keep the game patched and balanced, it's got to be tournament ready and so on and so forth. So are Sega going to invest a 5-year roadmap into a brand new Virtua Fighter game? I don't think they would do that right now. But I think by giving the old game a fresh new coat of paint, it looks brilliant, it plays brilliantly, you're giving people who might not have had a chance before to play a Virtua Fighter and see why it's heralded as one of the best 3D fighting games of all time. It was the fighting game series that literally began and pioneered 3D fighting games, okay? Virtua Fighter 1 was the first of its kind. It kind of set a benchmark for other 3D fighting games to shoot for. So while 3D fighting games have moved on, Tekken's moved on, Soul Calibur's moved on, to have a fighting game environment without Virtua Fighter felt a bit weird. So it's nice that Sega are looking back on it now and wanting to bring it back. You can, as I said, you can play it for free on PlayStation Plus, on PlayStation 4 if you've got a PlayStation 4. People are a bit annoyed that it seems to be exclusive. I personally think it's going to be a timed exclusive. I think at some point, at the very least, you're going to see this on PC at least. I got a feeling it's going to end up on PC at some point, because that seems to be the way things go with games that begin as Sony exclusives. I mean, Yakuza was a Sony exclusive. Eventually it found its way to the PC market. Persona is another series that was really sort of tied down to console releases, and now it's sort of finding its way to the PC market as well. I think when it comes to Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, eventually you're going to find it releasing on other platforms other than PlayStation 4. But for the time being, if you've got a PlayStation 4 and you've got an online subscription, just go and play it. Go and try it out. I highly recommend it. Do so. Do yourself a favor. Is it a perfect game by my standards? Well, my standards are different to other people's. When it comes to fighting games, specifically, I love them. I absolutely love fighting games. But I love them for different reasons to other people. Other people like how they play. They love spending time in the lab getting combos and studying frame data and, you know, competing on an online environment and on a tournament level. Some of these people really love fighting games for the way they play. I'm more of a design person. I come into a fighting game purely on character design, how diverse the roster is, and what storylines are happening. I'm not looking for like Mortal Kombat levels of storyline development. I don't need to go that far with it. But I like to play a fighting game that has at least an arcade ladder that you can go through, and at the end you're treated to some basic story stuff. I like it. It's my reward from playing from a solo person perspective. I didn't really play multiplayer fighting games. I wasn't really a multiplayer kind of fighting game player. I was always by myself enjoying the content for a solo player. So when it comes to Virtua Fighter, for those of you who are, you know, veterans of the series, will know that when it comes to Virtua Fighter, there's nothing in terms of story. You come into the game, you do an arcade route, and you might be rewarded with a picture, but you're not going to get character endings. You're not going to have character biography data, their backstory information. You're not going to get none of that stuff when it comes to Virtua Fighter. That being said, the one thing the Virtua Fighter series always did for me personally was it really had a strong sense of character identity. Okay, you'd see these characters and straight away, striking. You know exactly what this type of character is. You can tell by the way they move, the facial expressions they pull, because Virtua Fighter always sort of wanted to be the benchmark of realism in fighting games. So you're looking at these character facial animations and expressions, and you can tell character personalities from the get-go. Those kinds of things drew me into the Virtua Fighter series. I'm looking at characters and I'm like, wow, I love the way this character looks. I love the way this character moves. I love their body language. I love their fighting style and their fighting stance. I love all of that. But when it comes to Virtua Fighter, there's no story mode content for the solo player. So when they announced that they're, you know, bringing back Virtua Fighter in Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, when they announced they're bringing it, I was thinking they're not going to invest anything into solo player content. This is going to be a purely online focused experience, and I was kind of originally turned off from that, and then I played it, and this is funny for me personally. We're talking about my personal tastes here, right? When it comes to me, playing online always feels way too daunting. I get anxious about it. My bloody pulse rate goes through the roof. I'm hitting like 185 BPMs. It's nuts. Okay, me playing online, me playing a fighting game online has always been nerve-wracking, so I've kind of shied away from it. But I really wanted to support Virtua Fighter. I really wanted to help show Sega that their old IPs are needed in this modern day. They're needed in this day and age. So I got Virtua Fighter 5, I downloaded it, and I'm like, I'm not going to get any single player content from this. I might as well play it online. So I picked Sarah Bryant because she's a fairly straightforward and easy character to use out of the roster. I'm just going to go online and I'm just going to have a go. And I ended up really fucking enjoying it. And I'm not just saying this to hype it up because it's a Sega IP. I mean this. Like, when it comes down to fighting games, I'm looking at bloody my rank tier going up and down. I'm getting beaten up. I feel like shit, this, that, the other. I went into Virtua Fighter 5 not thinking about it like that. I was just like, the characters look really good. The character animations look really good. I just want to watch these characters do some really cool animations. And it didn't even matter that I was getting beaten the shit out of online, okay? Let's be honest, I'm not out here catching the W's, bruv. I'm taking these L's. I'm taking the double L's out here, man. Man's looking like Cool James with the double L's, you get me? but it looks so good. Even when I'm getting my ass kicked, yeah? Even when some dude who's playing as Akira is knocking my ass way out the ring, I'm getting beaten the shit out of, it still looks bloody brilliant. And I don't mind, kick my ass. As long as it looks this good, I don't care, kick my ass. And I was just having fun. And the thing is, I came away from like a quick online session. I played for about 2 hours online, maybe not even that, maybe about an hour. And I had to go to bed because it was late. I went to bed and I'm lying in bed and I'm like, oh shit. I'm kind of fiending to get back online right now. I was like, oh my god, yeah, I'm kind of I'm feeling this. I want to jump back on and have a couple of more goes. And that's good for someone like me who doesn't play fighting games online very often, to feel that urge, to feel that pull, to be brought back into the online arena, just to play, not to take into account what my rank is, not to take into account my win-loss ratio, just to go in and press some buttons and punch some guy in the face, and then have that guy press a couple of buttons and punch me in the face. For it to look as good and feel as good as this, I was appreciating it and enjoying it, and I'm loving it. So yeah, I think for a lot of people who might watch this channel who are sort of in a similar boat to me, they don't play online, they play fighting games purely as a solo player, go into this with a mindset. As I said, if you've got a PS4, it's free, go and play it. Seriously, go and play it. You're just gonna appreciate the fluidity of the movements and the animation, and how satisfying it feels to do a bloody backflip kick with Sarah and knock the opponent out of the arena. It just feels nice, it looks nice, and I appreciate all that stuff, even in an online environment. Even when I'm getting my ass kicked, you're gonna get your ass kicked as well, but it's gonna look great, and you're gonna be like, man, this looks really good, this feels really good, and that's great, and I love that. I know a lot of fighting game veterans have a couple of bones to pick with this new release. It's technically a re-release because, as I said, it's an old game that they splashed the new engine over. A lot of fighting game veterans are annoyed that it doesn't have rollback netcode. Yeah, I just want to quickly cut into my own video here with a extension edit by saying that even though Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown doesn't have rollback netcode, the netcode that it does have is actually pretty decent. I'm not going to go into it. I don't know the specifics of what it's doing. But it holds up fairly well. Yeah, Maximilian done a video on the netcode for Virtua Fighter 5, so if you're interested in the whole netcode thing, obviously go and watch his video about it so you understand a bit more. But from my personal experiences online on the PS4, even without rollback netcode, I was still having some really solid matches. But anyway, yeah, back to the video. I'm not going to go into the definitions of what rollback is, because I'll be here all day. But to the veterans who are kind of annoyed by this, you have to understand again, Sega, from a financial point, to implement rollback into a 15-year-old game, personally, I'm not sure if they were going to invest that kind of money. I don't know how you implement rollback into old games. I don't know how difficult it is. To my understanding, you technically have to gut the spine of the game to fit it in and make it function differently to how it used to play. I could be wrong, as I said, I don't know. I don't know the specifics when it comes to, you know, computer game development. But for Sega, on a budget level, I don't think they were going to implement rollback. So I understand where you lot are coming from. You want rollback. Rollback opens up the playing field of online gaming. It makes it super smooth. It makes it a million times better. And I'm in the same boat as you. Every fighting game in the future from here on out needs to have rollback netcode. But knowing Sega, I know they weren't going to put that kind of investment in because they're not sure how it's going to do. But I do think for the future, if Sega see the numbers and they see the fan response to this game, that they might hopefully implement rollback netcode into the next game in the series. If they do a next game in the series, hopefully they'll hear the fan feedback and they'll implement rollback right from the get-go. But I have to I'm not necessarily siding with them, but I understand them why they weren't going to put rollback in at this point in time. It's an investment that they're not sure if it's going to pay off. And this kind of leads me into the conclusion of this video, something that I want to get across about Virtua Fighter and what I think Sega might be doing here right now. Maybe they don't have plans at the moment. As I said, Sega pick and choose what they're doing. They're very aware of their financial circumstances. So when it comes down to bringing back dormant IPs, they have to be very selective over which IPs and what they do with those IPs to what extent. What they've done with Virtua Fighter 5, for now, is a really good step in the right direction for allowing people to access Virtua Fighter play it and give them some numbers to see. Because when it comes to Sega, they have to see numbers. Same with any company. They want to make sure they're making right investments for the future, so they got to see numbers. So if you actually want Sega to invest into the future of the Virtua Fighter series, go and play this. If you've got a PlayStation 4 and you're online with that shit, and you got a PlayStation Plus account and all this shit, go and play it. It's right there. For the next couple of months, it is free. Okay? Go and play it. Let Sega see those numbers. And if you don't have a PlayStation 4, I'm not sure if you can play it on a PlayStation 5. I have no idea how the online architecture works for PlayStation 5. I don't know if you can play digital PS4 games on the PlayStation 5. Because I don't have a PlayStation 5, I can't fucking find one. But if you've got a PlayStation 5, check to see if you can play this PS4 digital game on your PS5. If you can, play it. Let Sega see those numbers. And I'm not sure how Sega are going to handle feedback from the community, but if they open up to feedback and they do an online survey and they want to know your thoughts about how you feel about Virtua Fighter as a series, right in there, let them know about rollback. Demand it. Don't even just request it. Demand it. Let them see it's the future of fighting games. Let them see that Virtua Fighter will absolutely flourish and prosper in the online market if it has rollback netcode in a future installment. Because when it comes to Sega, they do want to see numbers. They're not going to do anything unless they see some numbers. And right now, I mean, I don't want to jinx it. We all know that I tend to jinx things sometimes if I open my mouth. So I'm trying not to jinx this, okay? But I say this right now, thanks to the fact that you can technically play this game for free if you have a PlayStation 4 Plus account. There is more people playing Virtua Fighter right now than there has been in the entire series, probably since Virtua Fighter 1, when everybody was in the arcade and they wanted to know what a 3D fighting game played like. Okay, there is so many people playing Virtua Fighter 5 right now. It's looking good, but you gotta add to that, it is down to numbers with Sega. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, it's on PlayStation 4. If you've got one, go and play it right now. If this game gets ported to PC or other gaming consoles, go and play that damn thing. Let Sega see those numbers. If they start asking for feedback, tell them, bring this series back properly. Please put rollback netcode in from the get-go. You are going to flourish in the fighting game scene once again. Trust me, rude boy. But you gotta let them know, and they need to see those numbers. So go and do it now. I'm gonna shut up. Don't even go and do anything else, okay? If you've got to go and do work, fuck that. Tell your boss, suck your mom. I ain't doing that shit. Leave the office, go back to your yard, turn on your PS4, and play Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, yeah? Go and do that. And if on the off chance that you run into me online, if you're from the London ends and you run into me online and you see my Sarah Bryant out there, go easy on me, bruv. Go easy on man, because I'm telling you, I don't flex as hard as you lot. Seriously, I'm having fun with this online though. I'm having fun. Even without rollback netcode, I'm actually having fun with this. And I want to keep playing it. So go out there, play this game, let Sega know what's up, tell them what you're thinking, tell them what you're feeling, give them the numbers. And hopefully, if things go well, we might be seeing the return of Virtua Fighter as a series. That's madness. That's madness to think about, but the building blocks are there right now. We're in play. The cards are on the table kind of sort of thing. So let's push it. Let Sega know. Let's do this. But yeah, I'm going to shut up now because I'm overhyping. You can tell when I start overhyping, innit? My voice starts doing some crazy things. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to go and play Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown on your PS4 and have a bloody brilliant time. I've been DiGi Valentine. Thanks for your time. Take care and stay safe.